As stated earlier, Taiwan's sewage coverage rate is just over 26%, and most domestic wastewater is discharged right into the country's rivers untreated. However, what happens to the other 26% that does go into a sewer? Well, it would end up in one of the 54 sewage treatment plants in the country. After being treated, it can then be discharged or be reused for everything else except for human use.
A water truck is filling itself up with water in Taipei. At the small park, the vegetation is kept lush green thanks to the automatic sprinkler system. But wait a minute, isn't Taiwan coping with the worst drought in 68 years? Can water be used so casually like this?
Actually, the water that you see watering along now is the treated effluent from our water treatment plant.
As it turns out, underneath the park lies the Taipei Dihua sewage treatment plant. The sewage arriving at the plant is full of different domestic waste. The smell is worse than that of a fermenting rotten egg, and the color is beyond filthy. After navigating through the city's sewers, the sewage is first sent to the sedimentation pool and then treated at the aeration tank.
This tank here is for aerobic treatment.
This brownish goo is condensed sewage. It contains large amounts of highly polluting organic matter, but at the same time, it is food for microorganisms and bacteria.
The sewage is full of water-soluble pollutants, so we introduce microorganisms that can degrade these pollutants. And the process is expedited with us pumping air into the sewage to provide oxygen for the microorganisms.
After a total of 15 different tanks and aerobic and anaerobic treatments, sedimentation and disinfection, 11 hours after its initial arrival, the sewage can now be safely discharged. Currently, Taiwan has 54 sewage treatment plants, of which 52 are capable of secondary treatment like this one, while the other 2 are only capable of primary treatment, which only includes sedimentation and disinfection. But is that adequate?
The treated effluent from a primary treatment plant is safe for rivers. However, since we can now better analyze the effluent, we are worried about pollutants that even a secondary plant cannot deal with, such as chemicals from medication.
44 of the sewage treatment plants will disinfect part of the treated effluent and provide it free of charge to citizens. The water is suitable for everything except for drinking. However, few utilize such service.
We can provide 1,500 cubic meters worth of treated effluent a day, but for the whole last month, only 1,000 cubic meters worth was taken. There's a lot of room for growth in Taipei.
After all, it is more convenient to access water by turning on the faucet than to fetch it with a water truck. To prevent contamination, treated effluent cannot use regular water trucks or be fed into the tap water system, and thus few people are willing to use it. Nonetheless, treated effluent is a valuable water resource and should be put to use properly.
Every day, 3 million cubic meters worth of treated domestic wastewater are discharged. But the demand for water for industrial use in Western Taiwan is 2.5 million cubic meters. If we can just reuse 20% of the treated effluent, we can provide industries with 600,000 cubic meters of water a day.
It is estimated that 20% of treated domestic wastewater can meet 40% of the demand of water for industrial use in Taiwan. Though the cost of using treated effluent is higher than using tap water, it is far cheaper than calling for a water truck or desalinating seawater, and thus several companies are now willing to give it a try.
We have designated 6 of the treatment plants to be a part of a treated effluent recycling demonstration. By 2017, we shall begin supplying treated effluent.
With the addition of treated effluent, industries with high water demands will have more options, especially during droughts. Israel and Singapore are known for the efficient use of water, for both countries have limited access to this invaluable resource. Had Taiwan not experienced the worst drought in 68 years, then perhaps people would have continued to use water carelessly. Thanks to the crisis, however, now there is room for growth.